The Maple Leafs ride a red-hot power play to victory and take Game 1 of the Battle of Ontario. Let's break it all down on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. And it's a Victory Monday pod. The Maple Leafs take Game 1 of the Battle of Ontario. They down the Senators 6-2. And everything was coming up buds for Toronto in Game 1, wasn't it, Dave?
Oh, it definitely was, and it feels good to be on this side of the post-game, Game 1, talking about the Leafs.
It's been a while. It feels like the Leafs rarely. It feels like they rarely win Game 1. I don't know why.
They had a streak of like Game 1 losses at one point in the Matthews-Marner era.
Yeah, Game 1s, Game 7s. The odds of you winning the series increase drastically when you win Game 1.
68%, I think, is what I saw.
Yeah, so 68% chance of you winning the series if you get the first game and take that 1-0. Now it's a race to 3, right? The Maple Leafs, they got to beat the Sens to 3 wins at this point. And, based on how they look tonight, I think it's very much achievable. I mean, both of us expected the Leafs to win the series going into it. But after what I saw tonight, I feel really good about that take. I mean, this thing could end in 5-6 games. We don't even need to get this thing to go to 7. But Toronto, I thought they played really, really well tonight, Dave. And it's what you really wanted to see, right? Like there is a lot of built up, anxiety about whether or not things would actually be different this year. And to me, it actually felt like they played the same way that they did in the regular season in the playoffs. Like they played playoff hockey, and right from the get-go, they were finishing their checks. They were battling in front of the net. They had their special teams rolling. They had good goaltending. They kind of had everything go their way, and the big boys stepped up. And all of those things have kind of been, few and far between over the last 8-9 years of this Matthews-Marner era. It all kind of came through tonight in Game 1.
Yeah, I think the Ottawa Senators realized that I think the Senators got a bit of what the Leafs has kind of been going through the last few years. Yeah, you play well enough at 5-on-5, but you don't get the goaltending. If you don't win the special teams battle, the 5-on-5 I felt was kind of even. So like those things, at the end of the day, are gonna make or break in a playoff series.
Yeah,
and man, what a contrast to what we saw last year.
Right? I mean, last year, this team could not score to save their lives. They legitimately just couldn't get pucks in the back of the net. They went 1 for 21 on the power play. They only had 1 goal from a blue liner all last in this best of 7 last year against Boston. They've already doubled both those outputs in this one game. They had 3 power play goals. Actually, they tripled the power play mark. They got 3 power play goals tonight and got 2 goals from their back end. Oliver Ekman-Larsson kicked the things off here with the goal, and then Morgan Riley scored as well. And, I mean, when you're getting secondary scoring from the blue line, when you're scoring on the power play, you're going to win more games than not. And that really was the main difference in tonight's game, was the Maple Leafs on the power play. And we talked about it. Like, since January 15th, that's a pretty large sample size. The Maple Leafs have had the number 1 power play in the league, operating at 31% over that stretch. And we thought that might be a big strength for the Leafs, considering Ottawa's PK was like 77% coming into the series. And right away, it proved to be just that, a massive advantage for the Leafs. And not only did they score 3 times, but they made quick work on the power play. They scored 9 seconds in, 3 seconds in, and 8 seconds into power plays. So they just got the job done early and often.
It was like they understood they had urgency. Like we know the power play was at its best. Quick movement, get a good shot, and Craig Berube always said, get opportunities on net, right? I credit a lot also to, I mean, considering how quick the goals came in, like getting into position to at least fool Olmark a little bit. But again, it's almost like the Leafs power play, the longer that top unit is on the ice, it usually doesn't work too much in their favor. So they they just knew Ottawa's getting a little frazzled by the calls going their way. So what do? You take advantage of them kind of maybe not being as focused, right? And especially the number of times that they were shorthanded, you got to take advantage of those opportunities. And this time they did, and that was something I was really glad to see. Obviously, more so to say that what they did in the regular season, what they were able to accomplish down that stretch, did actually carry over, because we've seen it many times. Yeah, I know the power play's got good numbers. It should be able to perform in the postseason, and then it never does. This time around, and who are the guys getting the goals, right? Nylander, Tavares, Nyes. Okay, we don't usually expect Matthew Nyes to be the guy always getting the goals.
Well, we have recently. More recently, at least.
But
it's the way that guy battles, like that, he's another difference maker, like that the Leafs have this year that they hadn't had in the past. Like, I know he was here last year against Boston, but like he's a completely different player. Like, he's leveled up. He's now a top line guy. Like, he scored 29 goals this year, one away from. He's now 30 on the year. You know, you include the goal he scored tonight. Like, that's a big time addition, and it's where he scores in and around the net, and that's where you have to score in the postseason, right? Like, that's where you score most of your goals, and that's what Matthew Nyes was able to do tonight. He was in front of the net, he battled, got good positioning, and then was able to take advantage of off a rebound and put it into the back of the net. So, you know, you love to see it. Guys like Nyes stepping up, the blue line stepping up, but I think, you know, the core four, the fact that those guys combined for 9 points tonight, you have to love that, Dave.
Oh, yeah, that's, again, those were one of the many positives you could look at in this game. And sure, a lot went right in game one. You also got to know that you may not get the same formula to win you the rest of the series, right? Ottawa's now got the chance to say, okay, got punched in the mouth a little bit there. We got to be able to adjust and go forward. And, you know, Ottawa's going to know, okay, we can't be overly aggressive, especially against the Leafs and this power play.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously, and we talked about that coming into the game, where Ottawa, especially early in the playoffs, where referees like to kind of set the standard early on and a little more whistle happy. I mean, they got themselves into penalty trouble, and that's kind of where things really changed for them. Like, in the second period there, they took 3 penalties, like boom, 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 right away, and that kind of changed the momentum of the game, and the Leafs were able to score on a couple of them, and that was really it. Like, from that point on, Toronto had the stranglehold on the game. You know, Ottawa cut the lead to 4-2 at one point, but then Toronto scored quickly right after to make it 5-2, and then 6-2, and then that was kind of curtains at that point. So, yeah, I thought clearly, if you're Ottawa, that's the main takeaway for them, is they got to be far more disciplined in the next game, because if Toronto's power play is going to be cooking like that, you got to stay out of the box. Absolutely have to. But credit to Toronto. You know, I thought they were battling, they were skating, and they forced Ottawa to take some penalties. You know, the people in Ottawa are complaining right now about the power play discrepancy. I think it was 6-2. The power plays tonight. I think Toronto got 6 and Ottawa only ended up with a couple power plays, but the Leafs outworked the Senators sometimes and won some loose puck battles. And I think Ottawa was just a little too aggressive, to your point. I think they were trying to they were playing a little immature, trying to almost show that they belong here, that they play a physical brand of hockey, and we're trying to impose that. But there's a line, and they crossed it multiple times. And unfortunately, that's what sunk them in game one. And we'll see if they continue to play that way going forward, or if it'll be kind of living in the back of their minds, and maybe they won't be as aggressive in game two. But if you're not playing your game and you're overthinking things, who knows how things end up turning out. But turned out well for the Leafs in night number 1. On the other side, we'll continue to dive deep into what we saw in game number 1. The Maple Leafs with a 6-2 win. They're up 1-0 in the best of 7 over the Ottawa Senators. 3 stars still to come as well. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and if you've never been to a live NHL playoff game, it's unlike anything else. The intensity, the speed, the energy in the building, it's next level. And thanks to Gametime, getting in the door is easier and more affordable than ever. Gametime is the fastest way to grab playoff tickets, even for those must-see matchups. Prices will usually drop as puck drop gets closer, but with last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% with Gametime. You could save to 60% buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theaters, whatever. They've got all-in pricing that show you the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. And you can even see panoramic seat views right from the app, so you know exactly what you're getting before you even buy them. With Gametime ticket coverage, I know I'm protected, whether it's cancellation protection, job loss assurance, or their 24-hour return guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Leafs, Sens, Tuesday night, game 2. Want $20 off your tickets? Use code LOCKEDONNHL at Gametime. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us up on YouTube as well. So if you're wanting to stay locked into what's going on with the Leafs all throughout these hopeful long playoff run, make sure you are locked in and subscribed to the Locked On Leafs podcast. Maple Leafs with a 6-2 win over the Ottawa Senators in game 1 of the Battle of Ontario. They go up 1-0 in the best of 7. And it's a race of 3 now, Dave. It's a race of 3. They got to get to 3 wins or 3 more wins, I guess, at this point. And they'll move on to round number 2. Let's get to our 3 stars. Or you know what? Let's continue, because I didn't really get a chance to ask you for many of your takeaways. If you had any other takeaways outside of the depth and the core 4 scoring, what other takeaways did you have from this game?
I think for me, the start, right? The Leafs needed to put a little bit of doubt in Ottawa's mind. I thought that they Ekman Larson scoring first. There was a stat that I wrote a little bit of a story on Sportsnet about, like, the Leafs defense stepping up and scoring. It was the first time the Leafs had 2 defensemen scoring a game since 2001.
Like a playoff game?
In a playoff game.
Wow.
To have 2 defensemen score in a playoff game. 2001. So that was nice to see. But it's just the start that they had, and I was seeing a lot of how the Ottawa Senators were outperforming the Leafs at 5-on-5. I don't know about you. I didn't see it.
Well, if you just look at the shot counter, I guess you could look at it and think that. But, I mean, a lot of those shots really came from the peripherals. Like, if you look at where the high danger chances came from, it was pretty even. 6-5 at 5-on-5 in high danger chances. Ottawa had 6, Toronto had 5. So the Leafs did a really good job of limiting Ottawa. Credit to Ottawa. They did the same thing. Didn't let the Leafs get inside a whole lot. But yeah, defensively, I thought Toronto played excellent. They did exactly what they wanted to do. Try and keep the crease as open as possible. The couple of times they didn't pick up their man, it did cost them with the goals from against Anthony Stolarz tonight, coming off of rebounds out in front of the goal. But for the most part, I thought the Leafs played really well defensively, and I thought Stolarz had a pretty solid game himself as well. Probably end up showing up in the 3-star segments. Why don't we get to it? Dave, who's your first star of the game?
I'm going to give it to Anthony Stolarz.
Yeah? Stolarz the goalie.
Stolarz the goalie, because early on, the Leafs did need their goalie to stand tall. I thought, a couple of shaky rebounds for him, especially the one on the second goal. I think he's got to find a way to kind of trap those a little bit more. But I mean, he was solid when you consider what Linus
The
Ullmark,
second goal, the one that popped over a stick.
the one that
Atherton.
the Ridly Greig goal, where Benoit, I think it was Benoit, didn't really tie up Greig there, and
Right.
it went off him and then in.
Yeah.
It kind of went bounced up, and Greig just like absolutely just pounded it in.
Mhm.
Other than that, like I thought he was pretty good. Like that's the type of goaltending you need to win in the playoffs, right? When the guy on the other side is having his struggles, didn't really have his best night. That's something I don't think the Leafs have. The Leafs have gone goaltending like that, but it's when it happens, right? When in the game do they get those big saves? And I felt like as soon as it was 4-2 or 5, actually then we became 5-2.
5-2.
Ottawa was done. Like, and he
Yeah.
made sure there was no chance Ottawa was going to get more than 2 goals in that game.
Yeah. And he made some big stuff, like that stop on Tkachuk on the breakaway. Like that was a key save in that moment. Like a really a big time key save there. So he made a couple of big stops, especially earlier in the game, and then the second period, I thought he came up big too. Yeah, he played well. He was my third star tonight, actually. So I had Stolarz as my third star. He was busy tonight. Don't get me wrong, but he only faced 6 high danger chances. And for me, it was just the rebound control on those couple of goals, like the bad bounce on the first one, the Batherson goal, where like he just went to go and corral and it popped over a stick, and Batherson just kind of nudges at it and it goes into the back of the net. Like bit of bad puck luck on that one, but like you gotta get that. Like put your trapper on it and let's get the whistle here. But throughout the night, I did think that he was good enough to get a star. So he was my third star. My first star, though, Dave, like the power play. How can you not give it to PP1? I mean, the power play was unbelievable. And it was an old Mike Babcockism where he said the strength is in our power play, or the power play is our toughness, or toughness is on our power play, or however the hell he said it. Tonight, that was real. 3 for 6, 50% on the power play, and that was the difference in the game, right? The fact that they took advantage on the man advantage and scored 3 times, and that was really the difference. And it's not that just they scored early in when they got those opportunities, and it was the big boys who got it done. So being able to get the power play cooking right off the hop here in the playoffs, I think that's such a big boost of confidence for this team, because I think it'll just continue to kind of waterfall into some 5-on-5 offense from these guys, and doubt will start to creep into the Senators. So going 3 for 6 on night 1 for that first power play unit, absolutely destroying Ottawa, and almost single-handedly winning the game tonight. They got my first star.
Yeah, I'll give him my second star since I was thinking more of players, but yeah, I think the power play itself, that changed the game. And I don't want to hear no conspiracies, because guess what? When Leafs fans were complaining about the officiating, we were all told to go and just kick rocks. Well, guess what? When it's on the other side, guess who gets to kick rocks?
Yeah.
The Sens. Because again, don't push, don't check a player from behind. That's a penalty. Yeah. Don't slew foot somebody. That's a penalty.
Yeah, high stick. That's gonna get called every time. Like they were penalties. I don't know what to tell you. They were all penalties. Like
you
maybe
mentioned
the one on Matthews, the one like Goddett, where he's like, that's that one. Okay, maybe it was a little soft, but like it was a shove in the numbers. That's gonna get called, especially in game 1 when the refs are trying to set the standard. Like that's where experience comes in, right? Where the Leafs know, hey, that might get called in game 1s. We've been there. The Senators, they had to figure that out the hard way.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? And like let's be honest here, the refs, I don't know how that cross check to Tavares ended up going from a major to a minor.
Yeah.
Like again, the Leafs have been on that before, and it was not called as a minor. It was a suspension worthy hit. right? And so you get I've been told, if you cross check too high, the NHL doesn't like that too much. So, you could play it both ways in a lot of these, discussions about the officiating. But again, if you're Ottawa, don't, teams want to play that overly aggressive style against the Leafs. You gotta watch, like Florida does. You gotta watch it. There's a fine margin you have to play. You have to play with to do enough to throw a team off their game, but don't do it enough that the refs are like, okay, like this is getting too much.
Yeah.
Right. And so we'll see how the officiating, because sometimes it tends to corrects itself
Even
a little
out.
bit.
Yeah, and typically we see more whistles in the first game or two than we do later on in the series. So I'd imagine, those ticky-tacky calls or those 50-50 calls will just not be called later on in the series. We always see it. So, and that's why, like the Leafs, they can't rely on the power play. They are going to need to generate a little bit more at 5-on-5, which they did an okay job at tonight, but it does need to be better. The underlying numbers suggest I think Ottawa won 64% of the minutes at 5-on-5. So, you would like to see the Leafs play a little bit better when they're not on the power play. But when they do get that opportunity, got to strike, because that could be the difference maker come here in playoff games. And it clearly was tonight. My second star I gave to Mitch Marner. Thought Marner was good tonight. Obviously, a beautiful goal, like really nice find, really nice feed for Matthews. But man, what a dangle! Just little flick up over the glove of Linus Ullmark, barred down skis, and it was 2-0, and the place was going wild. And right from there, you're like, okay, the boys are awake early, and that was a big message sender, I think, to not only Leafs Nation but to Ottawa, where the core four, we're alive, we're ready. That top line, hey, we're here. We're ready to play playoff hockey now, boys. And I thought that was kind of a nice little message that they were able to send with that early goal. And he was on the ice for just one high danger chance tonight. Mitch Marner, 21 minutes of ice time on the ice for just one high danger chance. So, there was a lot of shot attempts with the Marner line out there, but really nothing of any significance. So if you look at, the Corsi numbers, all right, didn't look glowing, but they only gave up one quality chance. That's it. One quality chance tonight while on the ice, that top line. So you can't be upset with that. But Marner led the team, 3-point night for him. He got my second star.
Yeah, and I'll give him my third star. I mean, I feel like all the top forwards, at least offensively, I felt like Nylander and Tavares weren't as good defensively. I felt like that second line left a lot to be desired. They didn't look fast, and I'm a little concerned about that going forward. Maybe we can talk about that in the next segment, but I think Marner and Matthews specifically, they did what they're supposed to do. Marner, a goal and 2 assists. Matthews, 2 assists. And they all played big minutes. I'll throw Matthew Nyes in there because he played over 22 and a half minutes.
Is it the Fab Five with Matthew Nyes now?
It should be, because he's potting in he's getting his time too. He played more than Marner and Matthews tonight. It's
really
crazy. Yeah, he played. Now I don't know if that had to do with, obviously power play played a part in that too. But yeah, he played.
Yeah,
more.
but they all play power play. They all play penalty kill. I actually didn't register that he had played more minutes than Marner. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, 22, 29. Led all Maple Leafs in time on ice. That's it. I didn't actually realize the time distribution for the blue line. It's pretty dead even. You see that, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
The blue liner with the least amount of time on ice was Oliver Ekman-Larsson, 17-12. The blue liner with the most, 19-36. That was Jake McCabe. So there's like a 2-minute difference in time on ice tonight between all 6 blue liners. Chief did a really good job of, leveling out minutes and making sure that he got everyone involved tonight. And I thought everyone played well. And you could do that against a team like Ottawa. I guess that's not as deep too, right?
Well, that's it, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, what ended up being, the difference maker was the Leafs' top players were better than the Senators' top players.
That's
Couldn't win you
right,
a lot of
Dave.
series.
That's right. The Leafs' best players were better than the Sens' best players, and that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. We had to get a little mix, had to get a little cross in there, right? It's Mania weekend. We didn't start with Mania, so I figured we got to put in a little
it's
mix.
a good way to put it. It's a good way to put it, man.
I know we got a buddy who was pretty upset that he had to take a little bit of eye time away, a little bit of screen time away from Mania to keep an eye on the Leaf game today. I guarantee you he was very upset about that. But yeah, the Leafs with a big win, 6-2, and a lot went right. A lot went right. What can they still do better, though? Let's get into that next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with a Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your pair of controllers, subscribe, or sign in with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from College Football 25 to Call of Duty to NHL 25 as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Play high quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Already have a console? A Fire TV Stick device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your games wherever you plug in. And with 4K streaming, you could also watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscriber services. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, second gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, first and second gen, and then the Fire TV Cube. The Locked On at Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you, coming off a Game 1 victory for the Toronto Maple Leafs. 6-2 was your final. And we now look ahead to Game 2 coming up between the Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. That'll be on Thursday at 7 p.m. So Game 2 Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel at Scotiabank Arena. So another home game for the Maple Leafs. Are the Leafs going to have a Ridly Greig problem in game number 2 that they'll need to be taking care of, Dave?
I really hope not, but I will
think
say
that there's spillover. Like, I'm fully expecting Max Domi to get into Ridly Greig's kitchen and do something. Like, someone I think has to make Greig pay for what, because not only did he have the high stick on John Tavares, which whether you can make the argument whether or not it should or shouldn't have been taken from a major to a minor, that's whatever. You can call the league about that, as Craig Berube said. But then you cannot tell me that him going and sliding into Anthony Stolarz was not on purpose, because it 100% was. There was barely any contact. You could tell he was already starting to fall and lean down to the ice. When he was barreling in on Stolarz there, he was just waiting for a little bit of contact so he could take a dive and try and take out the Leafs goaltender. I think the Leafs need to really kind of take care of this problem. He's becoming quite the pest here for Ottawa.
Yeah, and you know that Ridly Greig isn't exactly gonna go out of his way to he's gonna do it in a way that's gonna try to get under the skin, right? He's one of those players that, he's not like a Ryan Reeves where, okay, yeah, we'll drop the gloves. Like, I don't think
he's Marchand. He's a rat.
Yeah.
An absolute rat.
So that's why I think Max Domi is probably the perfect neutralizer of that, because like some people will probably say, throw Ryan Reeves in there. There ain't a chance that Ridly Greig is going to willingly go to toe with a Ryan Reeves. You got other guys that play a lot more than Ryan Reeves that can handle it. Max Domi's one. You could throw even like a Brandon Carlo. Maybe not letting the guy who just came back from an injury have to deal with that, but if he has to,
I'd say
sure.
He's a tough guy. How about Morgan Riley?
Wouldn't hate that.
There's the obvious history there between Ridly Greig and Morgan Riley, right? With the empty net clapper.
But my thing too is, yes, it could be a problem, but don't go out of your way. Don't do like what Bertuzzi and Domi tried to do last year with Marchand. And that is anytime you're out on the ice, you're going out of your way to try to get to him, because then that becomes your focus. And I think that hurt the Leafs last year because their focus wasn't on where it should be.
Well, I'm
You got to
curious.
stand up for yourself.
Well, do you think Ridly Greig owes it? Like, that it's the code, right? Where sometimes you do something, you injure somebody or you cross the line with a dirty play, a stick up in the neck of someone. Sometimes you got to just pay the price, right? For crossing the line. Do you feel like Ridly Greig is obligated to answer the bell for what he did to not only Stolarz, but John Tavares today as well? Because that's what I mean, where it's like Max Domi right away, right? Those two get on the ice for the first time, and it's, hey, let's go. Like you were an absolute douche nozzle in the first game. Let's get at her and let's just settle the score and let's just get even.
I think this is where Craig Berube is going to come in perfectly for the Leafs here, because he's a coach that I think totally understands how to deal with a situation like this. And he will go probably to a Max Domi and say, hey, this is what you can go and do this, but understand that if Ridly Greig's not a willing participant, don't try to, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want is for the Senators to feel like, oh, like they're pissed about what Greig did, so now we're gonna try to make them go out of their way to get retribution.
Yeah. Don't get baited. Don't get baited into taking stupid penalties, right?
Don't take the bait.
Don't take the bait. Like Kachuk took the bait from Scott Laughton. That was a really, really good trade-off. I'll take Laughton for a Kachuk all day long. Speaking of Scott Laughton, actually, I think we didn't really talk much about the fourth line, but man, I thought that they were super effective tonight. Laughton, Lorentz, and Calle Yarncroc. I wouldn't be rushing David Kampf back into this lineup, that's for sure.
No, the only thing I would have said was Calle Yarncroc had that one play in front of the net where, like, Calle, man, you got to bury that.
Oh, yeah.
Bury that chance. Other than that, I didn't really have many complaints about the fourth line. That's a fourth line that's very effective. Now, I'm wondering if at one point does Max Pacioretty factor into that at some point in this series. But other than that, I thought they were quite effective. And that's something, again, like the Leafs can throw that fourth line out there, and they got guys that can do things offensively, but they're very sound defensively. And I thought Calle Yarncroc, especially on the PK, was pretty good. He got a lot of love in the Discord for his penalty killing tonight. So, so that was another positive I would say, is that fourth line.
They generated more chances at 5-on-5 than any other line tonight. 5 scoring chances at 5-on-5.
Nice.
Which is the same amount as the first, second, and third lines combined, actually, funny enough. So, I thought they played well. And Scott Laughton, man, like that's why they gave up a first-round pick to bring him in, knowing that he could be, he's the guy who plays a playoff-style hockey. And, he showed it tonight. Some good patience also with the puck to get it over to OEL, and then baiting Kachuk into a penalty. I thought defensively they were real solid, winning some battles. So I really, really, really like what they're doing here. The Maple Leafs fourth line. I think that line has some legs moving forward. Anything else that sticks out to you for maybe things that the Leafs can learn from game one heading into game two?
Watch the turnovers.
Yeah.
Morgan Riley, especially. Anthony Stolarz saved your bacon, man, because that was Brady Kachuk one-on-one there. Don't do that. Just don't. You got enough people that don't like you right now. Don't give them enough justification for their not liking you. I felt like they did a good job of not allowing as many high danger chances, considering how many shots the Sens had in this game.
Yeah.
But I just know that the Sens understand that there could be opportunities to crash the net more. They didn't crash the net very well. you got to be ready to protect that house.
But the difference between the blue line this year and the blue lines of the past is Chris Tanev, he's stocky. He's not going to let you get there very easily. Same with Brandon Carlo. Same with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And obviously Jake McCabe is a beast, and he battles and fights to protect the house as well. So, that's something, again, we talk about, like, well, what's different? Why does this year feel different? And we talked about the blue line, the way that it's constructed. It's different than it's been. It's obviously the best it's been, but it also is the play style is of a Stanley Cup contender. I think we saw tonight why that works, because it just keeps guys out of the crease, keeps guys away from the net. And Stolarz, if he can see a puck, he'll save a puck, and he saw a lot of pucks tonight. So that's another thing kind of moving forward to keep an eye on, and hope that the Leafs can just continue to build off of that strong play. All right. Anything else before we wrap it up?
No, great start. Had that's a perfect end to a really nice weekend. Thank you. Leafs.
Yes, thank you, Maple Leafs. Thank you. Especially since the Blue Jays stunk the joint out in the last couple days. At least we had the Leafs to do some things for us. How about Nicky Bobby throwing the weight around first couple shifts? Yeah, a couple
even
big
Nylander got into a little bit. Like they understand.
First shift had a back check and finished a check in the offensive end. It's like, okay, playoff hockey, it's here. I love it. You got the guys buying in, and that kind of was the first signal to me again. All right, what's different? That buy-in early on, that's different. But it's a 7-game series, so it doesn't end after game 1. Got to continue to play that way game 2, game 3, game 4. And if you want to win a Stanley Cup, you got to play the way you did tonight at least 16 more times, because it doesn't take 1 win, 4 wins, 11 wins. It takes 16 wins. 16 wins to get yourself a Stanley Cup. So you got to replicate the way they played tonight 15 more times, really. That's
easy
what it takes
peasy.
for the Stanley Cup. Yeah, easy peasy. Get it done. All right, that's going to do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. It's the same on Instagram. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow to tee up game 2 of the Battle of Ontario. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.